Fantastic fire rate, perpetual precision, and a strange appearance to complement a weapon of incredible efficiency. Hi. Six Snipes here, and Battlefield 4 is officially a habit of mine. I'm alternating back to Sandstorm next week, but until then I'm going to enjoy my little vacation of making guides for a game that's actually taking the time to iron out its bugs.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
But before I get started today, I find it prudent to mention that given the sheer number of people in the comments talking about how none of my guns I'm fitting fit their meta, so I'm just going to point out the simple fact that top 5 favorite carbines does not equate to top 5 best carbines.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
There's 100 videos that will actually tell you to use this gun or that gun, but I'm just here for a fun time and to tell you all about it. And if I happen to do well with your so-called bad guns, that's all the more entertaining it is, and that's really all there is to it. So bearing that in mind, we're gonna jump into today's episode, taking a look at a highly unconventional armament. This is the A-91, and you're all watching Gun Guide. Rounding off the halfway point of this miniseries, we have the second of 2 odd Russian-made bullpup guns with the A-91, developed in the early 90s straight from the motherland. The brainchild of the KBP Instrument Design Bureau and a child hailing from the 9A91 family of weapons, whatever that means. That's just about all the wiki talked about the gun, and to be quite frank, I have never heard anything about it before getting to Battlefield, nor have I ever since. The wiki article is quite small, though that low information aspect is typical of many of the obscurest weapons designed in the final days of the Soviet Union.
Shit, I don't even know, like, I can't even tell you that, like, you know, like, fighting, I don't know, like...
Perhaps the only thing more disappointing than the lack of information is the lack of integral grenade launcher I see pictured on all of the models on the web.
She done me dirty. She done me dirty.
Similar in shape to the Groza, you get the same profile with the curvy magazine and oddly placed carry handle. Chamber's a smaller round too, the 5.45 typical of AK-74s and the AKS. However, I understand the real-life variant can come in models for anything between 7.62 to 5.56. It can also equip a foregrip. That smaller bullet comes with the trade-off of a higher fire rate. Coming in at 800 rounds per minute, this gun is a verified shredder, meaning it's perfectly capable of keeping up with some of the more toxic picks in the game. Because of this, I'll make the safe assumption that of the 3 guns I've covered as of yet, this is definitely the one most favorable to all of you Battlefield veterans out there. As a matter of fact, I'd even venture to say that if you like your ACRs and ACEs, then you're almost certainly sleeping on this gun. I can't blame you either, it looks stupid. Looks aside, I quite like fielding something with such an overwhelming volley. I'm far prone to tap firing, and even in short bursts, I find that the time to kill on targets is quite speedy no matter the conditions. And now that I mention that, the tap firing is super effective. You generally like to think something that shoots as fast as this would generate a lot of recoil, and the wiki page would once again have you believe this.
Shut up, bitch! Oh my god!
I just feel like if you've played any game outside of Call of Duty, you're well acquainted with guns that require actual effort to manage recoil, much less if you just play supports. The jitter is very clearly there, the sideways muzzle swing being the most obvious, but at no point did I feel like it was the recoil which was getting me killed. Just bum aim and the pressure of trying to record decent footage. Standard capacity is, as always, quite nice. However, with a fire rate this high, you may struggle to save those shots for a second or even third kill. It's still quite doable, however, once you've acquainted yourself with the approximate number of shots it takes to put a guy down. I had plenty of misfortune with reloads, but you can chalk that up to my impulsive ass needing to reload every 10 seconds. In terms of attachments, you aren't limited by any means and can equip any standard to your gun that you'd please. That being said, the common drawback of the carry handle, making your optics right up pretty tall on your screen, is evident as always and not the prettiest thing ever. Once again, I'm pleased to say that the irons are quite pleasant to use, so thankfully if you're one for aesthetic like myself, optics aren't always a must-have, but I will say that the Russian optics and the unlocks don't look like a complete war crime when you throw them on, so do so at your own discretion. I myself didn't have too much luck with either of the scopes. Despite this, I'll note the range is great and I'll just end up using the toggle zoom optic for a game and it wasn't too bad. Not a big deal either because I don't personally use much of the lasers when I run them, seeing how easily they give you away. However, it's also almost certainly not as useful as, say, the auto spotter to begin with, so there's always that. It skins quite nicely too, however I honestly forget to change these up sometimes, so you're looking at a very vanilla build for most of this footage. The sound design is nothing to write home about, however it probably best illustrates the quite decently geared fire rate this thing has, and with a suppressor I find it perfect for running CQB, otherwise I gotta go with that heavy barrel for accuracy. I find myself getting asked the question many times of why I'm not using muzzle attachments like the brake or the compensator to mitigate recoil, however I feel like I shouldn't have to reiterate the fact that I really couldn't be bothered. If anything, I'm adding attachments to increase it at the advantage of getting more range. Speaking of, it reaches out across that distance well enough, perhaps not as consistently or effective as, say, the G36, however, it's certainly not the case that this was designed with that in mind. It's more of a highly offensive, shredding beast, much more gravitating towards pushing towards the enemy and wiping out hostiles wherever you find them. You can also be assured that if you're the first to open fire with this, you'll also be the last one standing with any sort of competence. I didn't have much success with the hip fire spread itself per se, however it seems that no matter what the spread, the fire rate putting out more rounds in an area than standard is quite ample to compensate. As for the reload, it's quite run-of-the-mill. The time isn't listed anywhere, so I'm a bit in the dark as to how to numerically compare it to other weapons, but I'd say it's just about what you'd expect from bullpups, sort of on the slower side, but nowhere near enough to get you in trouble like other guns. I think it's worth reiterating from a couple of videos ago that you don't need a Wonder 9 with the spray and pray design philosophies typical of most of the handguns to supplement these things. You're much better off getting good with heavier guns, such as the Deeg, 44 mag, Rex, or in my case the Unica, which at this point has saved me from getting cooked way more times than fair. Gotta get those one-hit headshots. Once again, you're using a carbine, so close quarters always invites the usage of flashbangs for proper breaching and clearage. Mix up the gadgets and maybe pack an extra CQB fart gun or else a standard airburst or a remote mortar to punish those idiots camping the back of the map out of your range. Otherwise, just have fun flanking the oblivious snipers and gunning them down, or else the good old-fashioned take the tag and do the bag. Probably the most covert out of any of the weapons I've picked up in quite a while. Low profile, up close and personal, and capable of being silent as the grave you're sending your enemies to. And that's just about all I have to say about the A-91. I'm seriously starting to run out of new words to describe guns with, but if I had to choose just one for this, it'd be grinding. That's what this does to every health bar and enemy, and it's what you'll be doing after you pop off the first time using one of these things. Perhaps the most technically accessible weapon of all the carbines I've done so far, with the most conventional traits that many consider make a good gun. But that's my opinion. I'm sure you guys have yours and that I'll hear all about it from the comments down below. Go ahead and leave one and a like while you're at it, so long as you enjoyed the content. But I've spoken my piece. That, and as of just now, writing this, the channel is at 3,000 subs. I promise a special so you can guess what you're all getting next week. I'm so very glad to have any sort of fan following for someone who's just making stupid videos about guns and video games and having fun while at it. Hopefully, it's still just as entertaining to you guys and continues to be that way for many episodes to come. I don't know what the future holds, but I can tell you how every one of these episodes ends. This is the very fine A-91. You know, I'm Six Snipes, and as always, you've been watching Gun Guide. I'll see you out there on the battlefield.